friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Justina, and here I like to make, create, and inspire fun art things with you through my DIYs. As you see by today's title and clicking on today's video, it is another Christmas in July video for you, but it's all about gingerbreads. I had a blast making each and every one of these, and I hope this gives you some inspiration to create some of these for yourself. Remember, friends, if you are new here but haven't yet subscribed, I hope you do that today. All you have to do is click on that big red subscribe button down below. It is totally free. We are trying to reach 10,000 subscribers by October. That is my new goal, and if you can help me out, I would deeply appreciate it. If you enjoyed this type of content, don't forget to smash on that thumbs up button. It really does help out my channel. And if you know someone who loves the holidays just as us, please share it to at least one friend. Now, with all that being said, let's just jump right into it and let's art today. Moving right into our first DIY, I have a large poster board that I purchased from Dollar Tree, and I want to make a faux gingerbread Christmas tree tower. If you have watched my 100 days till Halloween video, this is the same concept. If not, all I did was roll up this poster board onto itself to make a tree-like shape in a nice cone, and I'm using some hot glue on the very edge of it to hot glue it into place. I just roll it up onto itself, press down firmly on the inside so that it is nice and adhered down to itself. Remember, you can always use a stronger adhesive if necessary. However, my hot glue did attach it nicely. Next, I need to make it nice and even so that my tree is leveled with the table, and all I am using is a pair of scissors to cut it down into a nice even shape. Now, at first it looks even, but if you fold it like this and pinch it together, you can see where you need to cut off the remaining of the excess. Next, you need to twist it so that it's evenly all the way across, and then just see if it's leveled onto the table. Once I was done with that, I wanted to cover my Christmas tree in a nice gingerbread color, so I'm just taking various colors of my Waverly chalk paints and folk art home decor chalk paints and just regular acrylic paints and mixing it all together. So as you see there, I did mix up some yellows, some oranges, and some brown. I also end up using some red and some green to mix it all together to make a nice gingerbread color. This is really up to you if you want to paint yours. If not, if you can find a brown poster board that would work for you, you can also do that. So this is the color I came up with. It really doesn't look like it. However, when it dried, it was a nice gingerbread color, at least for the look I was going for. So I made a huge batch, as you see there, because I kept mixing colors all together. But I do use it on every single project in today's DIY video. So as you see here, I am adding it right onto my poster board and just painting a nice thick layer all the way across. Since this is mainly chalk paint, I really just needed one coat of paint to cover all of my poster board. Then I will set that to the side to dry completely. After my poster board had time to completely dried, this is what it looks like. Like I mentioned before, once the paint has dried, it looks like a gingerbread color, at least for me. I did make a secondary one, however, I didn't get a chance to finish it. And like I'm showing you here, this poster board is really flimsy, especially if you make it wider like I did with this one. So to remedy that, what I found out is if you stuff your poster board with some garbage bags or maybe extra paper lying around, maybe some newspaper that you're not using it, stuff it until it's completely tight. It will thicken that poster board as if it was a nice solid piece of foam. Now you can also use some spray foam. I've used that in the past and just fill up the whole entire thing. That way it has a nice structure and it does add some weight to your tree, so it's nice and solid. So as you see here, I added grocery bags all the way up until I got to the desired level I wanted, because next I am going to use some of Dollar Tree's rulers to make my tree stand up off of the table. So you get 2 rulers for $1.25, which is a steal because they are made of wood. You just have to remove these little sticker pieces that have the measurements on them. And I am using both rulers. That's because these rulers can be a little bit flimsy on its own. So I am gluing both rulers together to make it a solid piece. Once again, I am just using my hot glue gun to attach each one. It did work really nicely, but if you want, you can always add wood glue to secure your rulers together. After I have them glued together, I then add more hot glue right on top of my rulers because I want to push this right into the center of my grocery bags. Now, I know it seems crazy at first because they're just sitting there. However, I am going to then stuff more grocery bags all around my ruler to hold it into place, and then gradually adding more hot glue all around it so everything is nice and adhered down to one another. Another way to attach your rulers into your Christmas tree is to use some Fluorofoam. I could not find my Fluorofoam at the time, so I'm just using what I had on hand. Next, I just took another piece of poster board, cut out a circle and then a slit in the middle, slide it over my rulers so this will act as the bottom of my Christmas tree. I then added a bunch of hot glue to the outer edges of that poster board so it can adhere down to the plastic bags and the rim of my Christmas tree. I did have to add beads on the inside just to hold it into place so that the bags didn't push the poster board back down because there's so much pressure in there, they want to come out. Now I'm taking the same paint that I mixed up earlier and painting my rulers and underneath my Christmas tree so that everything blends in nicely. Once again, this is totally optional. You do not have to do it this way. However, I just want everything to look nice and cohesive and complete. Once I was done painting, I will set that off to dry completely. Now I needed a base for my Christmas tree, so I found this terracotta pot that I purchased from Dollar Tree. 2 came in a pack at the time for $1.25. I'm really not sure if that is the same deal. However, you can always find terracotta pots at Dollar Tree and other stores like Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot, etc. I am painting it with my Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint in the color Imperial Red, and as you see here, it is completely dry. Now, I didn't prep my terracotta pot like I normally do, which is add a sealer. Since this is just going to be an indoor decor piece, I don't need to do all of the extra things I do when I paint my terracotta pots. Now, while I was in the garage, I found pieces of foam that I needed earlier there, and I just took a piece inside and I'm filling up my terracotta pot with it. I just break off pieces that I needed, shoved it in there, and then added hot glue to attach them all together. Next, I'm adding another dollop of hot glue right in the center, and then I am sticking my Christmas tree right into the center of it, pushing down firmly, holding it into place so that it adheres down. Now, to decorate my Christmas tree, I am using a variety of different stuff that I have on hand. I have these gingerbread cutouts that I purchased from Dollar Tree a year or 2 ago. I can't really remember, and I am staining it using my Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint in the color Java. So what I do is I dip my paintbrush into water, then dip it into the paint, and then I spread it all over my little gingerbread men to really give it a stained look rather than a fully painted look. After it had time to dry completely, this is how they look, and I will set that to the side. Then I want to add them to my Christmas tree. I pick a spot where I like it, and I'm attaching everything using my hot glue gun. Since this is just paper, it does adhere down good. I don't need to add any extra security. However, if you want a stronger glue adhesive, you can always add E6000 or super glue, whatever your heart's desire. However, I'm just using regular hot glue sticks and my glue gun and attach each one individually. Now, this is not even whatsoever, but I got it as close as possible so that it looks nice and straight. Next, I found this rope that I had on hand from Dollar Tree years ago. I believe I found this in their automotive section, but I thought it was so funny because I thought it looked just like peppermint, and I am hot gluing it in a line right underneath my gingerbread men. Once again, I am just using hot glue, and then once I get to the other side, I cut it down and then hot glue the edges together. After I have it glued down into place, I will then continue adding this peppermint string all over my gingerbread tree in various spots. And I won't show you every single one, but I did add another one on top of my little gingerbread men and all over my tree. Here I have all of my peppermint string onto my tree. This is how it looks thus far. Now remember, you can decorate your tree however you like. These are just inspirations to help you maybe get into the holiday spirit a little bit early. Now, to make this more of a gingerbread faux Christmas tree, I like to use this Fast and Final lightweight spackle that I purchased from Lowe's. I really love using this because it looks just like whipped cream on top of your DIY projects. So what I like to do is take a bunch of it and putting it in a piping bag with a piping tip. Once again, I really don't know what type of piping tip this is. It's just one I had on hand for years and years, and I use the same one for every type of faux dessert project that I do on my channel. I just add it into the piping bag and then I cut it slit out so that you can pipe out the whipping cream. So like you just saw, I added the whipped cream in between each one of the gingerbread men so that it was nice and full, and then I'm adding it below it using the zigzag motion so it looks like it's been piped on with some whipped cream. Another great thing about using lightweight spackle, if you mess up, you can always scrape it off and then add more right on top, and you won't be able to notice your mistakes. Now I have some glass filler beads from Dollar Tree, and I'm adding it right into the whipped cream, and this will hold up nicely. One thing I did notice that if it doesn't get pushed in all the way, it does tend to fall out. However, all I did was hot glue it back into place with any piece that fell out. Next, I'm going in with some pearl beads and I'm adding it in between the little glass fillers that we pushed in to begin with. Next, I'm going in and I am going to continue piping on all of the whipped cream on top of my faux gingerbread Christmas tree and add various types of designs and patterns all over it. Now, disclaimer, this does take quite some time, but I promise you the end result is worth it and it turns out amazing. Next, I wanted to make some sort of hot fudge on my Christmas tree, so I found some caulk that I had in my crafting stash that I purchased from Dollar Tree. All I did was cut a little off of the tube, and then I took a large popsicle stick and grab some out of that tube so I could put it in a bowl. Next, I added various of different types of acrylic paints to it to get that fudge look that I'm going for. Now, here's what it looks thus far. However, it wasn't dark enough when it dried, but still I loved how it turned out. But I wish it was a little bit darker. Then I'm going to add it to my Christmas tree after adding it to a piping bag. All I did was add it to the piping bag, cut a little hole at the very end, and now I'm just squeezing it onto my Christmas tree. Now, you don't need much, but you do need a little, and then when you go on top of it with a popsicle stick, you can shape it into the dripping motion that at least what I am going for. And then I do tap it onto the table just a little, and then I will continue adding it all over my Christmas tree. Lastly, my Christmas tree needs a topper, so I have this wooden snowflake that I am painting white. Once that was done, I hot glued it to the top of my Christmas tree, and that completes our first DIY. Here is how my faux gingerbread sweet Christmas tree turned out. I absolutely love it. Now this thing is really tall. If you do not want it as tall as mine, you can always make your Christmas tree a little bit shorter by cutting off the end or not adding a bottom to it. However, I just absolutely loved how it turned out. I did add a little bit of whipped cream on the bottom of my Christmas tree in that terracotta pot just to make it more cohesive, but I would love to know what you think about this DIY down in the comment section below. I believe this is my favorite DIY out of all the DIYs today. Moving right into DIY number 2, I found these ceramic pots at Dollar Tree in their, it was just an end cap and they were just sitting there. So as you see on the bottom, there is no holiday sticker on them. These are just regular decor pieces that you can find at least at my Dollar Tree. They came in various different designs. As you see here, this one's just a house. The other one just looked like a nice store, and this one kind of looks like a firehouse to me, and I just thought they were totally adorable. So since this is a gingerbread theme, once again I'm going in with that paint mixture that we mixed up earlier, and I am going to paint all 3 of those houses with that paint. Now once again, you do not have to paint yours. You can always take it out and spray paint it if necessary, or leave it how it is if you want to, but this is just the way I did it. I did have to give it a nice generous coat because since this is ceramic, it did soak up a lot of that paint. Nonetheless, this did get good coverage. I really didn't have to do a second coat. I just filled in all of the spots that didn't really have a thick layer on top of it. So once all of that had a nice generous amount of paint all over it, I did set it to the side to dry completely, which didn't take long at all because they are ceramic and they did soak up the paint nicely. As you see here, this is how it looks after it's completely dry. I really loved how the paint dried on the ceramic. It really gave it a nice gingerbread color. And as you see here, there's 3 different types. Now I believe the 2 on the ends have to be tea lights because it's small enough to fit a tea light in there. However, there's no opening, so I don't know how you would see the candle in there. But to make this more of a gingerbread, I am taking a white Posca paint marker and I'm outlining everything, all of the edges, all of the little details onto the house, and then I will add some squiggly lines all over the house itself just to give it more of that gingerbread look. This is such an easy DIY. It really took no time at all. You just really have to fill in the lines if you want to, and just add little squigglies everywhere once you're done. And that's really it for this DIY. I did the exact same thing for all 3 of the houses, and like I mentioned before, I did add more details to each one. For the house, I did add little shingles to the top of my house, as you see here, which is just making these U shapes on top of it. You don't have to be perfect. The more imperfect you are with it, the more homemade and cozy it looks, at least in my opinion. So once I did one side, I finished the other side. As you see here, I'm just adding little dots and dashes everywhere. This really just makes it more like a gingerbread house. The more full you fill up those little houses, the more detailed it looks. So friends, while I'm finishing up my gingerbread houses, if you happen to be new here and you haven't yet subscribed, I hope you do that today. All you have to do is click on the big red subscribe button down below. It is totally free, but don't forget to click on the bell notification so that YouTube can always notify you every time I upload a new video. Plus, we would love to have you part of our virtual art family here. I am really trying to hit 10,000 subscribers up until October. That is a new goal for me. So if you can really help reach that goal, I would highly appreciate it. For all my subscribers, thank you so much for being here. If you are enjoying today's content, don't forget to smash that thumbs up button. Now, after I was done painting on all of my lines, that completes this DIY. Here is how my gingerbread houses turned out. I absolutely love it. I love how easy this was. All I needed to do was add paint and add a little bit of details with a paint marker, and they turned out absolutely adorable. I would love to know what you think about this DIY down in the comment section below. Moving right into our third DIY, which happens to be the cutest. I found this nice piece of foam board in my garage, and I wanted to make it into little gingerbread lollipops. So the first thing I did was take this plate that I made in my previous video, and I'm just using it as a guide. I trace it out with a Sharpie permanent marker in the color brown. This really doesn't matter. This is just giving me an idea of where I need to cut it out. I did make 3 of them, and I then place that off to the side so that I can get my X-Acto knife. Now at first I was gonna cut this out using an X-Acto knife, which you totally can. However, I really wanted a smoother edge, so what I'm doing is cutting it as close as I can to the circle with my X-Acto knife with all 3 pieces. Then I will take a heating tool. This is usually used for burning into wood to make those smooth edges. Now, I highly disclaim that you need to have a well ventilated area. Make sure all of your windows are open, or I highly suggest doing this outside because it does smoke up and those chemicals are not good for you to breathe in. However, I think by doing this you get a really smooth edge. So as you see here, I'm just cutting off the excess, and what I found out to be the easiest for me is just placing my knife down on the table and then moving my round around it so that I get a nice even smooth finish. Then I will continue doing that for all 3 of my rounds. I just push down, and then I'm going to turn my little circle all the way around it, and this really does take no time at all, and it gives you such a beautiful finish at the end. Remember friends, you can still use an X-Acto knife to get the same look. You just have to really take your time and maybe sand down the edges. Once I was done cutting out all of my rounds, here is what they look like. They are perfect in my mind. There is some blemishes, but don't worry, we are going to cover them up. Once again, I'm using the same exact paint that I mixed up earlier, and I'm covering all 3 of those rounds using that paint. That paint that I mixed up was used on all of these projects today, and I didn't have to make a second batch. All of it was done with that little cup, so paint really goes a long way. Once I was done, I let it dry completely, and here's how they look. I absolutely love how the brown dries on each one of these projects. It really gives me the gingerbread vibes that I'm going for. After that, I decided I wanted to give each one of my lollipops a nice gingerbread face, so I am free drawing my face on. Now, once again, you do not have to do this. You can always use your Cricut, you can download a picture, you can use stickers, whatever you feel comfortable with, but I am just going in with my Posca paint marker in the color white to trace out my face. And after I have my face pretty much done, I can then add the details that I want on my face. So then I go in with other Posca paint markers and fill in all of my design. As you see here, I'm just using the red for the mouth and for the nose, and I will use other various colors for the remaining 3 as well. I am filling it up using Posca paint markers, but you do not have to. You can always use acrylic paints to get in all of those crevices, but my Posca paint markers worked just fine. So I am going to finish up all of the details on my face. As you see here, I am using a paintbrush and acrylic paints for the pupils of my little gingerbread eyes, but then I go back in and still continue using my Posca paint markers. Now, if you cannot find Posca paint markers and you want to purchase them, there will be a link down in the description box below. If you can, friends, please visit my other socials. I do have a Facebook and an Instagram page. I would love for you to go over there and say hi, where I do post other photos of all of the DIYs that are created in today's video, plus previous videos from the past. Now, as you see here, I did cut a slit in the little end of my lollipop, place hot glue on a popsicle stick, and then place that inside of the slit that we made. Next, I'm just covering it up using Waverly chalk paint in the color Snow White. And then lastly, I am making little stripes with my red Posca paint marker and then filling it in so it has a candy cane stem on the bottom. Once that was completed, here is my little gingerbread lollipop, and like I mentioned, I did make 2 more, and here's how they look. I made each one individually have a different face, and I just think it's super adorable. I really loved how these turned out, but now it's time to really spruce these up and add little embellishments all around our lollipops. The first thing I wanted to add to my little gingerbread lollipops was this little chocolate swirl on 2 of them. Now I only show one of them being made, and all I needed to do was add that caulk mixture that I did earlier for my tree, and I just added it right on top of my lollipop, took a popsicle stick and started smoothing it out just to make it look more neat and like it was drizzled all over the top of my lollipop. Once that was still wet, I did take some glass beads from Dollar Tree that I use all the time for my sprinkles, and I'm just using the white smaller ones, and I'm going to place that all in that chocolate mixture. I just drop it down, and then I take my remaining finger and push down so that it will adhere down to the chocolate. Next, to make the gingerbread little white swirl around each one of my lollipops, I added more caulk into a little sandwich bag, cut a little hole at the end of it, and as you see here, I'm just pressing down very lightly, going really slow all around the edges to make that little swirl that all gingerbread men and women have. Lastly, I really wanted to make each one of those lollipops have a nice bow, and since I finally learned how to make a bow thanks to a lot of suggestions from my subscribers, thank you so much, this really helped me. I made 3 little bows and dovetailed each one of them, hot glued them onto the stem, and that completes this DIY. I absolutely love my little gingerbread lollipops. They turned out super adorable, and I love how each one has their own little personality, their own eye color. But I would love to know what you think about these DIYs down in the comment section below. I think they are the totally cutest thing that I've made thus far. Alright, friends, that completes today's DIYs. I had a blast making all of these DIYs, and I really loved how they turned out. My favorite would have to be my gingerbread Christmas tree. As you see here, it was really fun to make, and I really want to make more in the future, but I would love to know which one out of today's DIYs was your favorite. Please leave me a comment down below. Remember to do all of the YouTube things. If you are new here, please hit that subscribe button. We would love to have you here for our virtual art family, and I am trying to reach 10,000 subscribers by October, and I really think we can reach that number. If you can help me out, I would deeply appreciate it. Remember, friends, if you liked today's video, don't forget to smash that thumbs up button. It really does help out my channel, and if you know someone who loves the holidays as much as we do, please share it to at least one friend. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do hope you enjoyed today's video. Like I mentioned before, I had a blast making all of these, and I can't wait to make more in the future. I believe I might have one more Christmas in July video coming out. But then I'm getting right into the fall spirit. So if you are excited, don't forget to make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss out. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.